The early days of YouTube almost feel like something of legend, a space designed to give even the smallest voice a platform where individuals of all shapes and sizes could collectively come together to share a story, a skill, or even a specific quality that makes them special through their unique gift. I'm often asked why I make videos, and in short, I do it for the sole reason to share my story. If there's one thing I would say is share them, because otherwise they may fade. And with that said, today I want to document these stories that just so happen to be made up of many memories involving the Mega Man franchise. So, after going back and playing Mega Man 1, I had a lot to unpack with my initial thoughts. Capcom was truly onto something special, with excellent level themes, open-ended exploration, a plethora of various power-ups, and a slew of creative character designs. It was apparent Capcom crafted a winning formula, but was it enough to make Mega Man a commercial success? And what was the development team's plan with the Blue Bomber going forward following the first installment? Fans would eventually be met with the answers, because in June of 1989, Mega Man 2 hit store shelves here stateside, and from the looks of the box art, it didn't appear to disappoint. These were just some product shots at the very best, so there was only one real way to know what would be to come. Now, in hindsight, making a direct follow-up to Mega Man 1 wasn't a corporate decision on the end of Capcom. In fact, Capcom sales for Mega Man 1 were considered to be quite low. However, the team responsible for Mega Man 1 was passionate about continuing on with the legacy of the series, and in time was permitted to work on a direct sequel in the event that they prioritized their new projects in the pipeline first. In other words, they could work on Mega Man 2 in their downtime. Capcom character designer KJ Inafune, now infamous for his work throughout the series, has gone on record in many occasions stating his relationship with Mega Man 2 was sort of a love-hate relationship, being one of his absolute favorite projects to work on, yet in the same breath was the most stressful. Throughout the development process, the team at Capcom decided to create a contest through fan submission for Robot Master concepts. Winners with the top design picks would have the opportunity to have their creations represented in the Mega Man 2 game. As a result, over 8,000 fans submitted their designs to Capcom, not only kickstarting interest in Mega Man 2, but creating buzz about the game itself, and over time, popularizing the series with the ongoing contest. Mega Man 2 would go on to be one of the top-selling games in the franchise to date. I previously stated in my last video that Mega Man 3 was my first go-around in the mainline series. Schoolyard opinions would come and go, but for the most part, early on, school talk was pretty unanimous overall, and Mega Man 2 was typically regarded as the best of the trilogy of games up until that point. As I mentioned, Mega Man 2 was a pretty big deal upon release. It was even front and center on the cover of Nintendo Power magazine and had an entire spread dedicated to the Blue Bomber's follow-up adventure. Fans of the series knew early on that this was going to be special, but I don't think we were truly ready for the legacy that Mega Man 2 would have on the franchise and the genre going forward. Fast forward to today, we have so many passionate fans in the Capcom community that do amazing work covering historical events, lore, and gameplay of this series on a frame-by-frame, or should I say bit-by-bit basis. Many channels I watch and support today are huge inspirations and do a great deal of good for the gaming community, and for that I applaud you. Looking at you, Johnny. However, as a young buck, these magazines were really the only major source of material a majority of us had to go off of for coverage and recommendations for upcoming releases. We really only had a few options to go off to judge if a game was worth the investment upon release. These magazine reviews were really helpful, and for many of the Mega Man games throughout the years, a majority of their franchise remain on top of the charts for months and years to come in Nintendo Power. So what was the big fuss about regarding this Mega Man anyway, and just what was the tea per se for the story of Mega Man 2? 1 year has passed since the events occurred in Mega Man 1. Wily's plans of a robo-world order came to a crushing halt. In the aftermath, the world would live in peace and prosperity. Wily, however, did not take his losses very lightly, and he decided developing humanoids of his own design would further his agenda. These new designs were developed to strictly kill, programmed with a mindset of causing chaos upon the environment. By default, the original 6 robots of light were created with the idea to assist, aid, and create structure for other robots, by doing so would further their creative capabilities. New Wily designs though, a sheer terror to Mega Man, and this time, he would have to deal with 8 robot masters altogether. The end result would find Mega Man again at a rebuilt Wily Fortress, now defended by a green dragon and new alien technology that Wily would discover deep underground. Once more, the world seeks out Mega Man to stop the madness of Dr. Wily before he unleashes a wave of sheer chaos across the lands. Now, unfortunately, in this go-around, we don't have any official North American canon or follow-up to what was stated in the Mega Man 1 manual, so no Monsteropolis or any weird Mega Man crime-fighting fetishes in this go-around. For some reason though, they made it apparent to give us a walkthrough on how to navigate Airman's stage. Maybe people considered his stage extra difficult for some reason? We did, however, receive a fun adaptation adaptation of the Mega Man 2 story in a series of fan fiction written by FX9 and published by Scholastic. This book series, infamously known as the World of Power series, loose story-based adaptations of many published NES games around this time, for better or for worse, were a great piece of supplemental material and influenced many children of the time to read, which is always a plus. The Worlds of Power companion storybook adaptation is loosely related to, and I emphasize, loosely related to the source material. The book series adds some additional dialogue to the characters and fleshes out the characters a bit more, as with Dr. Light, who is struggling with the reality that Mega Man may not stand a chance against these new robot masters of Wily's, and resorts to duplicating our hero to even the odds. So yeah, remember how Wily cloned Mega Man in the previous game? Dr. Light's like, yeah, let's just crank up the production line and pump these guys out like a new line of Tesla models for 2025. But wait, it gets better. Somehow in the process, Dr. Light manages to turn Mega Man into a human being, and now faces the consequences of mortality that becomes a major plot point as the story unfolds. Fun fact, even though the book uses the same cover art as the game, they also disregard the fact that Mega Man is carrying around that little pea shooter gun. So fortunately, no one gets harmed in the writing of this story. All in all, the game book is a fun novelty and a great scholastic piece for kids, and does also include some very fun game hints at the end of some of the chapters. The gameplay of Mega Man 2 has shown a great deal of improvement overall. The core concepts of the series return through the means of its run and gun routes and choosing your own stage progression points in the order you choose, yet the overall physics feels more or less tighter in control, whether that is more so due to stage design or how you are rewarded in overall gameplay. Where the improvements shine mainly come in a variety of quality of life improvements. To begin, let's break down the new item devices. Device 1 is a levitation platform. This allows Mega Man to travel up and over areas that are typically out of reach when using the standard Mega Jump. Device 2, the Jet Sled, allows Mega Man to speed past high traffic areas such as spike beds and death pits. Device 3 is known as the wall walking platform that essentially assists in scaling the wall for power-ups and items that are typically out of reach or in tight small spaces. A password system is now implemented, allowing the player to return to a particular point in the event you restart your system. Saving progress after completion of a stage is extremely helpful, especially for those that might not be able to sit down and do a full gameplay session at once, allowing the player to return to that particular point in the game after restarting the system. E-tanks are now implemented into the series, allowing Mega Man to refill his depleted health in a single-use serving, which in my opinion absolutely seals the deal going forward for the series and makes the experience so much more enjoyable. It takes that heightened level of anxiety away when you are extremely low on health and lives going into a boss encounter. Now, the power-ups, and more specifically, only one I'm talking about, the Metal Blade. I call this another crucial addition because yes, the Metal Blade is extremely broken. Remember the 8-directional whipping in Castlevania 4? Well, this predates that. Essentially the 8-directional Mega Buster. Oh, and by the way, you have a large amount of them, at which you can essentially spam them as you go, and they cover a great deal of surface area, eliminating anything and everything in their path. Do you run into any awkward enemies that present a challenge along the way? Well, now you don't. My one drawback going forward is that Mega Man 2 does not feature a score counter, and additionally, the player is unable to return to the Robot Master's lair once completed. I for one am a huge fan of arcade-style games. Something about racking up a high score in Pac-Man or matching up with a friend's score in a time attack always brought a little extra of that fun factor to an already great experience, and somewhat increases minigames replayability. Different modes of play with a difficulty selection was established, and once you played stages for a few times, you feel your skills naturally progressing with ease, as if this was implemented by design, giving newcomers of the series and established veterans both a unique challenge. In Mega Man 2, the difficulty mode is the original Japanese mode, and normal mode is the newly implemented easier mode, the main difference being Mega Man's attacks cause twice the damage while enemies' health is cut in half. The music, and man do I mean the music, truly sets the tone. What hasn't already been said about Mega Man 2's soundtrack, but this has to be one of the greatest chiptune soundtracks I've ever listened to. Don't get me wrong, my chiptune palette has widened over the years, and some of the later installments have some of, if not my favorite individual tracks in the series, but collectively as a whole, the Mega Man 2 soundtrack just flows so perfectly together. The stages all feel very well done, and the themes that are designed around the Robot Masters complement these enemies even more. Running through Woodman stage only to have a giant rooster hover over your head, or traveling through Bubble Man stage to get attacked by giant frogs that shoot baby tadpoles out just feels so surreal at the moment. Each Robot Master feels so creatively crafted, you could tell everyone that worked on this game, developer and fan, was determined to make it the very best they could. Some of my favorite Robot Master designs came out of Mega Man 2, like Metal Man and Airman, and their destructive weapon patterns were executed so well, having just the right amount of precision to slide under a whirlwind or sneak through a laser-focused barrage of metal blades tells a story within a story. I can easily say I adore the characters and story of this game. It's one in the series I can revisit on an annual basis. If you want recommendations on which of the 6 NES Mega Man games to play first, I say this one because it's the best starting point to jump into the series with its great stage design and difficulty options, and well, if you are just completely off-flat platformers, just leave the stage music running because you have plenty of bangers to jam out to here. So, we are now officially through the first 2 games of the original series. At this point, we are just getting started, and we now venture into one of the biggest Mega Man projects at that very time. But this time, the Capcom team bite off more than they could chew. When we return, we will be looking at none other than Mega Man 3.